What if I told you that one of Hollywood's most glamorous stars wasn't just a pretty face, but a groundbreaking inventor whose work powers the very technology we rely on today? Meet Hedy Lamarr, the secret genius behind Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, whose story is as astonishing as any blockbuster film. From daring escapes to revolutionary inventions, Lamarr's life was a whirlwind of brilliance and intrigue that you won't believe. The early life of an ingenious mind, a name synonymous with Hollywood glamour, Hedy Lamarr shone on the big screen in the 1930s and 1940s. Her breathtaking beauty and acting talent captivated audiences worldwide. Films like Algiers, 1938, and Samson and Delilah, 1949, cemented her status as a leading lady in the golden age of Hollywood. She was born Hedwig Eva Maria Kiesler on November 9, 1914, in Vienna, Austria. Her father, Emil Kiesler, was a successful banker, and her mother, Gertrude Lichtwitz Kiesler, was a pianist. Growing up in a well-off, intellectually stimulating environment, young Hedwig showed early signs of exceptional intelligence and curiosity. There were signs at a young age that Hedy had an engineer's natural curiosity. Hedy did not grow up with any technical education, but she did have this personal connection, says Richard Rhodes, the historian and author who documented her life. She loved her father dearly, so it's easy to see how from that she might have developed an interest in the subject. It also prepared her to be what she really was, a kind of amateur inventor. Hedwig attended a private school in Vienna, where she excelled academically. However, her interests were not confined to the classroom. She was also drawn to the performing arts, taking piano and ballet lessons. Her natural talent for performance soon became evident. Even if Hedy had wanted to be a professional engineer or scientist, that career path wasn't available to Viennese girls in the 1930s. Instead, teenage Hedy set her sights on the movie industry. At 16, says Richard Rhodes, Hedy forged a note to her teachers in Vienna saying, "My daughter won't be able to come to school today," so she could go down to the biggest movie studio in Europe and walk in the door and say, "Hi, I want to be a movie star." She landed her first film role in the German film Geld auf der Straße, Money on the Street, at 16. Her performance caught the eye of Austrian director Max Reinhardt, who recognized her potential and took her under his wing. Reinhardt's mentorship helped refine her acting skills, and soon she was cast in more significant roles. In 1933, at the age of 18, she starred in Ecstasy, a Czech film directed by Gustav Machady. The film featured one of the first instances of a female orgasm portrayed on screen in a brief nude scene, which caused a sensation and scandal. It was denounced by Pope Pius II, banned in Germany, and blocked by U.S. Customs authorities for being dangerously indecent. Despite, or perhaps because of, the controversy, her performance was widely recognized, and it put her on the map as a rising star. Escape from an unhappy marriage. Around this time, she met Fritz Mandl, a wealthy Austrian arms dealer with connections to European fascists. Despite a 14-year age difference, they married in 1933. Her marriage to Mandl exposed her to a world of military technology. Mandl hosted parties with scientists and engineers discussing advancements in weaponry and communications. Although she was expected to play the role of a silent, beautiful hostess, she keenly observed these discussions, absorbing as much information as possible. Mandl's connections to European fascists, including Benito Mussolini and Adolf Hitler, made their social circle a mix of powerful and dangerous individuals. The gatherings at their home were often filled with discussions on military technology and arms deals. Despite being treated as a mere adornment, Lamarr's keen intellect absorbed the technical conversations that took place. This exposure would later prove invaluable in her inventing career. Life with Mandl was restrictive. He attempted to control every aspect of her life, even trying to buy and destroy all existing copies of Ecstasy, the film that had made her famous. Hedy described her life during this period as oppressive. "I was like a doll. I was like a thing, some object of art which had to be guarded and imprisoned, having no mind, no life of its own," she recalled in later interviews. Despite the luxurious lifestyle, Lamarr yearned for freedom. The breaking point came when she realized she could no longer endure the stifling environment. She decided to escape, but leaving Mandl would be no easy feat. Mandl's influence and resources meant that he could easily track her movements, making any escape plan risky. In 1937, during one of Mandl's business trips, she seized her chance. Disguising herself as a maid, she gathered her most precious belongings, including her jewelry, and fled their home. She managed to reach Paris, where she felt a temporary sense of relief. From Paris, she traveled to London, seeking refuge and a new beginning. In London, Lamar's luck took a turn for the better. She met Louis B. Mayer, the head of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer MGM Studios, who was scouting for new talent. Mayer saw her potential and offered her a Hollywood contract. Recognizing this as an opportunity to start anew, she accepted and boarded the SS Normandy bound for the United States. On the voyage to America, she transformed herself into Hedy Lamarr, the Hollywood star. She adopted her new stage name and began preparing for her new life, breaking into Hollywood. Upon arriving in Hollywood, Hedy Lamarr quickly made a name for herself. Her beauty and elegance immediately caught the attention of film producers. MGM's Louis B. Mayer, who had discovered her in London, was particularly eager to introduce her to American audiences. He promoted her as the most beautiful woman in the world, a title that both helped and hindered her career. Lamar's first American film, Algiers, 1938, was a major success. Starring opposite Charles Boyer, her portrayal of Gabby captivated audiences and critics alike. The film's success established her as a leading lady in Hollywood. As Mayer had predicted, her beauty and screen presence drew immense attention, making her an overnight sensation. Following Algiers, she starred in a series of successful films throughout the late 1930s and 1940s. These included Lady of the Tropics, 1939, Boomtown, 1940, with Clark Gable and Spencer Tracy, Comrade X, 1940, and White Cargo, 1942. Each role showcased her versatility as an actress and solidified her status as a Hollywood icon. In Lady of the Tropics, she played a tragic Indo-Chinese heroine, and in Boomtown, she starred in a dramatic love triangle, demonstrating her ability to handle a variety of genres and characters. Despite her growing fame, Lamar's life in Hollywood was not without challenges. She often felt typecast in roles that emphasized her beauty over her acting abilities. Hollywood, in its golden age, was notorious for limiting the roles available to actresses, often reducing them to mere objects of desire. She once lamented, "Any girl can be glamorous. All you have to do is stand still and look stupid." This sentiment reflected her frustration with the industry's failure to see her as more than just a pretty face. In 1941, Lamarr starred in H.M. Pullum Esq. opposite Robert Young, where she played a strong, independent woman in a complex romantic drama. This role allowed her to showcase her depth as an actress, but such opportunities were rare. She continued to struggle against the industry's narrow expectations. Despite these challenges, Lamar's performances were widely praised. In Tortilla Flat, 1942, based on John Steinbeck's novel, she starred alongside Spencer Tracy and John Garfield, delivering a memorable performance as the alluring yet troubled Dolores Ramirez. In The Heavenly Body, 1944, a romantic comedy, she showcased her comedic timing and charm, further proving her versatility. Her career continued to flourish throughout the 1940s with notable films like The Conspirators, 1944, Her Highness and the Bellboy, 1945, and Dishonored Lady, 1947. Each film added to her growing list of accomplishments, yet the industry's focus on her looks remained a constant barrier to the more challenging roles she craved. In the late 1940s, Lamarr took a bold step by producing her own film, The Strange Woman, 1946, through her production company, Mars Film Corporation. This film, in which she also starred, was a psychological thriller that allowed her to explore a more complex character: her failed marriages. Her personal life was as multifaceted as her career. She married 6 times, each marriage marking a distinct chapter in her life. Her first marriage to Austrian arms dealer Fritz Mandl was tumultuous and controlling. Mandl's possessiveness and attempts to stifle her career led Lamarr to escape to Paris and eventually move to Hollywood, where she began her illustrious film career. Lamarr's second marriage, to screenwriter and producer Gene Markey, marked a significant turning point. In 1939, during this marriage, she adopted a son, James. Although the marriage ended in divorce, she remained devoted to James, who later became a part of her third marriage to actor John Loder. Markey's career in Hollywood and Lamarr's rising stardom made them a glamorous couple, but the pressures of the film industry and personal differences led to their separation. Her third marriage to John Loder brought more stability and additional children into her life. Lamar and Loder had two biological children, Denise, born in 1945, and Anthony, born in 1947. Loder also adopted James, creating a blended family. Despite their attempts to maintain a harmonious household, the marriage faced numerous challenges, including Lamar's demanding career and Loder's own acting pursuits. The couple eventually divorced in 1947, but she continued to focus on her children and her career. Lamar's fourth marriage to nightclub owner Ernest Ted Stauffer in 1951 was brief and troubled. Stauffer, a former band leader, and Lamar's whirlwind romance quickly soured, leading to a divorce in less than a year. This marriage was marked by conflict and incompatibility, highlighting the difficulties she faced in finding lasting personal happiness. In 1953, she married her fifth husband, Texas oilman W. Howard Lee. This marriage lasted 7 years, making it one of her longer relationships. Lamar enjoyed a more luxurious lifestyle during this period, benefiting from Lee's wealth and status. However, their marriage also ended in divorce in 1960, plagued by disagreements and her ongoing struggle to balance her personal and professional lives. Her sixth and final marriage was to her divorce lawyer, Louis J. Boys, in 1963. This marriage, like many of her previous ones, was short-lived and ended in divorce in 1965. From Hollywood star to wartime inventor, drawing on the knowledge she had acquired during her marriage to Mandel, Lamar realized the potential impact of improved torpedo technology. She knew about torpedoes, says Richard Rhodes. She knew there was a problem aiming torpedoes. If the British could take out German submarines with torpedoes launched from surface ships or airplanes, they might be able to prevent all of this slaughter that was going on. The key challenge was preventing the Germans from jamming radio-controlled torpedoes. Inspired by their mutual love of the piano, Lamar and Antheil devised the concept of frequency hopping. During their late-night brainstorming sessions, they played a musical game where one would start playing a song and the other would join in, hopping around the keyboard in sync. This led to the idea that a radio signal could hop between frequencies in a similar fashion, making it difficult for the enemy to jam. Antheil's experience with synchronized player pianos provided a practical framework for their idea. He had composed pieces for multiple synchronized pianos controlled by primitive cutout paper programs. They envisioned a similar method for synchronizing communications between a torpedo and its controller on a ship. All you need are two synchronized clocks that start a tape going at the same moment on the ship and inside the torpedo, explains Rhodes. The signal between the ship and the torpedo would be continuous, even though it was traveling across a new frequency every split second. Lamar named their system frequency hopping, and on August 11, 1942, they were granted a patent for their invention under her then-married name, Hetty Kiesler Markey, and George Antheil. The patent, numbered 2,292,387, was groundbreaking. The National Inventors Council, a wartime agency dedicated to applying civilian inventions to the war effort, helped Lamar and Antheil connect with a physicist from the California Institute of Technology to work out the complex electronics. Despite the innovative nature of their invention, the U.S. Navy was less than receptive. Antheil's pitch to the Navy was met with skepticism. "What do you want to do? Put a player piano in a torpedo? Get out of here," was their dismissive response. The patent was classified as top secret and locked away for the duration of the war. Undeterred, Lamar and Antheil returned to their respective careers, thinking their inventing days were over. However, their patent would find new life in the decades to come. In the 1950s, the electrical manufacturer Sylvania used frequency hopping to create a secure communication system for submarines. By the early 1960s, the technology was deployed on U.S. warships to prevent Soviet jamming during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Although Antheil died in 1959, Lamar lived to see their invention become integral to modern communication technologies. Frequency hopping was employed in car phones in the 1970s and became a standard for secure communications mandated by the U.S. Federal Communications Commission, FCC, in the 1990s. Throughout World War II, she also dedicated herself to raising funds for the war effort, selling millions of dollars in war bonds. Her dual dedication to both her acting and inventive careers showcased her multifaceted talent and unyielding determination. Hollywood fame may have faded, but her contributions to technology continue to impact the modern world. It wasn't until she was in her 80s that engineers recognized Hedwig Kiesler-Markey on the frequency hopping patent as Hedy Lamarr. Despite her lack of financial gain, Lamarr valued recognition. Hedy didn't want money, but she did want recognition, says Rhodes. In the 1990s, she finally got an award for her contribution. And Hedy being Hedy, what did she say? Well, it's about time. A struggle for recognition. After the initial dismissal of her frequency-hopping invention by the U.S. Navy, Lamarr focused on her acting career. She continued to star in films throughout the 1940s and 1950s, but her innovative spirit never waned. Unfortunately, societal norms of the time made it difficult for a glamorous actress to be taken seriously as an inventor. Lamarr's personal life also faced turbulence. She married 6 times, each marriage ending in divorce. These personal struggles added to her difficulties in being taken seriously as an inventor. Her marriages and divorces often made headlines, further overshadowing her technological contributions. In the 1950s, Lamarr's acting career began to decline, and she found herself increasingly frustrated by the lack of recognition for her intellectual achievements. Despite her efforts to break out of the Hollywood mold, she remained typecast as merely a beautiful actress. In the 1960s and 1970s, as frequency-hopping technology began to find applications in military and civilian use, Lamarr's role in its creation was still largely unknown. The expiration of her patent in 1959 meant she received no financial benefit from the widespread adoption of her invention. It was a painful irony that while her idea was revolutionizing communication, she lived in relative obscurity and financial difficulty. The principles behind their invention eventually became essential to modern wireless communication technologies like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. These technologies rely on the ability to switch frequencies rapidly to avoid interference and maintain secure connections, a concept directly derived from their original patent. Despite the widespread use of their invention, Lamarr's contribution remained unknown to the public, and even to many within the technology industry. Recognition began to come in the 1990s when the story of her invention started to gain attention. In 1997, the Electronic Frontier Foundation awarded her and George Antheil the Pioneer Award. This was a significant moment for Lamarr, as it was the first major acknowledgement of her contributions to technology. She accepted the award with a mixture of gratitude and a sense of vindication, having waited decades for such recognition. Despite this acknowledgement, broader recognition was slow to follow. It wasn't until after her death in 2000 that her contributions began to receive the attention they deserved. Documentaries, biographies, and academic studies started to explore her dual legacy as a Hollywood star and an inventor. The 2017 documentary Bombshell: The Hedy Lamarr Story brought widespread attention to her achievements, highlighting her intelligence and creativity. In 2014, Hedy Lamarr was posthumously inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. This honor was a significant milestone, formally recognizing her contributions to the field of technology. The induction underscored her role in developing technology that has become integral to modern communication systems, such as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. The National Inventors Hall of Fame described her as a visionary whose work has had a lasting impact on the world. Later years and final days. As the years passed, Hedy Lamarr's presence in Hollywood began to wane. By the late 1950s, she had largely retreated from the film industry, choosing to live a more private life away from the spotlight. The once celebrated star of the silver screen transitioned into a quieter existence, focusing on her personal interests and family. In the early 1960s, Lamarr made a brief return to the public eye with her final film, The Female Animal, 1958, but her interest in acting had diminished. The changing dynamics of Hollywood and the typecasting she had long struggled against took their toll, leading her to step away from her career. Her decision to retire from acting marked the end of an era for a woman who had been one of Hollywood's most glamorous and enigmatic stars. Her later years were marked by a series of personal and legal challenges. She faced several arrests for shoplifting, which brought unwanted media attention and further tarnished her public image. Despite these setbacks, she remained a figure of fascination and intrigue. In 1953, Lamar took a significant step by completing the naturalization process to become a U.S. citizen. This milestone reflected her deepening ties to her adopted country, where she had achieved both fame and eventually recognition for her inventive contributions. Becoming a U.S. citizen was not only a legal formality but also an affirmation of her identity as a trailblazer in both the entertainment and technological fields. Lamar chose to live a reclusive life in her later years, moving to Castleberry, a quiet community just north of Orlando, Florida. In this serene setting, she spent her time away from the public eye, maintaining contact with only a few close friends and family members. Despite her reclusiveness, her impact on technology was beginning to be more widely recognized. Despite this recognition, she remained largely isolated. Her health began to decline, and she suffered from a variety of ailments in her final years. On January 19, 2000, Hedy Lamarr passed away at the age of 85. Her death marked the end of a life filled with remarkable achievements and personal struggles. In her will, Lamarr requested that her ashes be scattered in the Vienna woods, a place she had cherished from her childhood.